Welcome to the award-winning Texas Toast Podcast, your podcast home for all things Texas country. Kick back and enjoy as we toast the best in Texas country. Texas Toast, cheers everyone, and welcome to one of my favorites. This was such a nice, sweet surprise. Will Carter, welcome to the Texas Toast Podcast, or should I say welcome back to the podcast. I know you've been a guest quite a few times, and I've known you like forever. You're just someone so special to me. So Merry Christmas. Good to see you.
Likewise, yes. When I saw this pop up, I was very excited. So it's been I didn't get to see you this year at the award show. In fact, I think the last time I got to see you was on this podcast, maybe about a year ago or
It
so ish.
was, it
Um,
was, it was, yes. So I'm
so
excited to jump in and talk to you about this upcoming album that you have coming out in March of 2026, a self-titled Will Carter Band album. So let's just jump into that a little bit and tell me about the creation of it and what we can expect.
absolutely. So Will Carter was a solo artist from 2016 or so on, and in 2021 I met the group that I'm with now. The band, the guys that I'm with now, and the whole thing started when my radio promoter at the time and publicist at the time and manager all said we want to release this song "Wrong Side of Town" as our next radio release, and it was a song that we I had been playing for 5 7 years, something like that. And at the time, I was doing a solo project as, a solo artist and using producers and session players, right? Like, kind of like how everybody makes their music these days. And so when I tried to have one of the producers use their session players out of Nashville or wherever to create the song, it was good, right? That's what they do for a living, but it wasn't what we had been playing live for years. And so people, knew this song. We couldn't put out a different song and call it that song. So I went into the studio because all of the guys in the band today, they do session work, and that's a different skill set than, the way 90% of the music is done is it's session players. The band then learns those studio cats did, and then they go perform them on the road. So it was a little bit different, but also kind of like the old days. That's how it used to be done, is you'd bring your band and go to the studio and press record and you'd play, and that's what you did. And so anyways, I said, let's just do it that way, because I had tried it twice actually, and both times, again, it was good, but it was a different song. So brought the guys into the studio and was blown away with how awesome they were in the studio. I knew they were awesome on stage. And they're pretty awesome to hang out with, but I had not gotten to do the studio experience with them, and they were fantastic. And so I said, man, this is the right answer. This is really kind of the missing piece I feel all along is, I think that the albums that I had put out previously were good, but they weren't cohesive, if that makes a sense. If that makes sense, right? Like there wasn't like I didn't have a sound. And when you have a band, you have a sound. And so we ended up recording the rest of that album. It was the How You Know album. Um, that way, right? We went into the studio, no session players, we recorded it. And I loved it because it sounds like, when you hear it on the radio or wherever whenever you hear the record, like, and then you go see the band live, it sounds the same, right? Like
Yes,
that's the
yes.
song. And everybody has their own little unique riffs and styles, and so you have a very unique sound. And so we were recording with Chad Malden up in Gladewater, which is an awesome setup because it's on, like, I think the third floor or so of this building that used to be a radio station. So on one half you got the hallway down the middle, and on one side it's the old radio station, which is the studio and vocal booth, which is really cool. It's got these awesome wood panels on the wall, and in the vocal booth, there's boot marks from Johnny Cash being in there tapping his boot while he's playing. I mean, it's awesome. It's an awesome experience, and Chad's fantastic to work with.
Yes, he is. Yes.
And then across the hall, it's got like a full-blown apartment, so you can stay there. So we were there for, I don't know, a little less than a week, about a week. And so the first night, we were there, we recorded, tracked a couple songs, and then called it a night around, 7 or 8 or whatever. And so got some dinner. We're all hanging out just in the apartment kind of thing. And like, man, we should write a song together. And so we wrote Had Me at Goodbye as a group right there in the kitchen. And we were actually, I take it back. This was the last night because we were supposed to drive, like we were done. We were leaving in the morning to go back. and we texted Chad at like 10 or 11 at night, like, hey man, we need you back in the studio in the morning. So what time can you be here? And he showed up around 9 or 10, I think it was, and we literally tracked the song, laid down the vocals, and we were out of there by 12 or 1. Super pumped because we were really excited about the song. And it was like a last minute thing, right? We just happened to write this song together as a band. Let's throw it on the album. And then that song went on to win Country Single of the Year last year at the TCMAs. And that's really what sort of changed. I mean, we when we started recording together, we rebranded as Will Carter Band because like, hey man, we've got this sound, and we're having way more fun with this band project. Then when we wrote that song, like, well, we should, in addition to recording together, we should just write together, right? Like that's the recipe going forward. So for this album, we've got 11 songs on it. Every single one of them we co-wrote together as a band, and then of course recorded in the studio together as a band. 8 of them with Chad. Um, 3 of them we did with Trent Willman. And the funny thing about this album is we showed up to Chad's studio with 5, I think. Yeah, 5 songs. And we said, we're going to be here this week. If we can write one song a night and then we can record them the last day, we want to leave here with 8. And we wrote 3 new songs the first night. And so we wrote 3 and recorded 8 songs, I think between like Sunday and Wednesday or something like that. We
Oh
were there
my
for
gosh, that is intense.
maybe 3 or 4 nights. It was pretty intense, but it was awesome, and it was great that they all kind of came. The songs kind of got done that first night. This was Bino's idea, but we put all the guys' names. There's only, I mean, there's 5 of us, so but it was four names in the hat. And then they drew names and they paired up. So we paired up Bino with Carlos, the bass player. They went in one room, and Dylan, the guitar player, and Jacob, the drummer, went in another room. And then I was a floater, so I would go into one room and work on a verse or the chorus or something with somebody for a little bit, and then I'd go to the other room and work with them. And so we basically got those. We got each of those groups got a song written that night. And then we went in the kitchen together and just had all the parts and put basically tracked out the format of it with the whole group for both of those. And then we went to bed and I couldn't sleep because I was pumped. And so I ended up writing Water Tower, waking up the next morning and saying, okay, guys, come in the studio. And Chad was there for this and we videoed it. It was super cool. You literally see me pull up my phone and I start just kind of singing the melody. These guys, they've never heard it, right? And I'm singing the melody, singing the song. And then Dylan's sitting there with the guitar and Bino's got his fiddle and Jacob's on a cajon, and they all just kind of start putting their parts to it. And then in about 6 minutes, you see the whole song come alive, and they go, "Okay, all right, let's go in the studio and record it." And we got it on video. So I've got awesome tasked with trying to figure out how to put together a making of the music video to that, and we have footage of the breakouts between the other guys doing those other 2 songs as well. So we're plan is to put that out kind of after the album drops in March, just to kind of give everybody like an actual video insight in real time as to how that whole thing came together, literally in one night, and then the whole project in about a week. So,
Boy, this is an amazing story. I've heard a lot of stories behind an album, but leave it to you, Will. I mean, I've known you for so long and followed along with your music and watched it grow, and this is just amazing. Congratulations on that. But it's like thinking about being in the studio and going from room to room with musician to musician, and you being like the floater instructor, almost like music school or something. Amazing. Thanks for sharing
well,
that.
I'm only a fraction of it. I mean, there's 5 of us, and we were all. It's literally when you get that many talented people together. I couldn't be happier with the group, and we have so much fun together. I think, which is a big part of it, because if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. We have a lot of
Right.
fun together. Every single one of us, them, us, whatever, are in our own different ways or our own space uniquely talented. And it just makes it's just a great group. It works, like you can take 5 talented people and put them together and that may or may not work, but it just does with this group. The energy's there. We've all got a little inside joke that we tease each other about, whatever. And so we're always just goofing off and having fun. And then of course we're always on the road together. And then even more so with the construction company during the week, 4 out of the 5 of us work here, there, whatever. So
Right.
often we're on the bus with all four of us with a laptop out working on a bid or a project, whatever. So
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
we spend a lot of time together. In fact, I'm in the office right now, and Dylan's about 20 feet from me, so he's sitting at his desk. So we're just always together. I mean, we work together during the week. We work together on the weekends. It's Yeah, man, we're like I don't know what the word is for five, but we're like five brothers. How about that?
Yes, yes, it sounds like it. And well, let's see. So what you're doing is you're dropping a song at a time as we're leading up to March and
One a
then the
month.
release of the
Yeah, one a
full
month.
album. And so far, you've released Water Tower and just released Holding On. I want to talk about Water Tower. Um, that was so relatable to me. And of course, my hometown, we kind of share in common. But what was your inspiration for that one, the Water Tower?
So that was one that had kind of been playing around with in my head for a while, leading up to that trip to Chad's studio, knowing that we were gonna have to crank out three songs. And I have a 2-year-old son, and I live about 30 minutes from Friedeck, where I grew up, and we still have the property out there, 13 acres that backs up to 12,000.
Can I ask you something about that? Do you remember Margie Buhala?
I don't know if I remember Margie specifically, but the name Buhala, like we lived in their house when we moved out
Yes, that
there.
was
while we
it.
were
And
building
well,
our
she was
Was that her
actually,
house?
yes, yes. The
Okay.
last interview that I had with you, she actually messaged me and said, "This is Aunt Margie. Ask Will Carter if he remembers living at our house."
The Buhala house is what we called it while we were
Yes.
building or renovating, whatever. Yeah, my parents were building our house.
Uh-huh.
It's literally right next to Brewer Road, which is my street, right? Yeah, in fact, one of the weeks that we were out there, because I go out there as often as I can. I wouldn't say every weekend, but I try to because I've got a storage container with some toys in it, four-wheelers and stuff. And my kid loves to go out there and see the cows and see the deer and see the pigs and chickens and run around and whatever. And my wife wanted to show him cotton. They alternate growing milo and corn and cotton out there. And we were right, it was right at the end of, like, they had literally just harvested all the cotton. But in the field right in front of the Buhala house, there was still a little bit of cotton. And so I literally, like, we had driven down the end of Brewer Road looking for him. And I was like, there's some next door. So we kind of split through their yard and picked up some. And so anyways, thanks. That It's crazy how small the world is, but
I
yes.
know.
So I
I know.
definitely remember. I remember the story of the Buhala house. I think I was like 3 months old, so I don't necessarily remember much about it, but I do know
Right.
that story very well.
Well, she
Yeah, pretty
remembered
crazy.
you, remembered you and your family. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I love where I grew up, and again, I wish that my kid could grow up that way, but that's why I try to go out there as much as I can with him, and so he
Absolutely.
kind of gets the best of both worlds. I'm not. Uh, he's not milking goats every day like I was, but I want to try to get as much of that as I can embedded in his upbringing, if you will. But so I just we were that's what the song's about. If you listen to it, I'm basically talking or singing out directions from Katy, where I live, to get to the
West.
property, going west and going south on 36 and all that, right? So that's what that is, and I mean that's where my head was when I wrote it. It's about going out there and getting away from what I do during the week to make a living or whatever, and how it was a simpler time. I'm at a different stage in life right now, and hopefully I'll get back there. And that's what the song's about. But I'd love to move out there again, and it's constantly in my in my brain, like talking about, do I build a house. What I want to do is build a couple houses out there because I have a sister and a mom and another sister that would all love to go out there at different times. So everybody get their own little house, and
Yes,
then
yes.
have like a metal building shop slash event space, if you will, in the middle of it that we would use for the rehearsals. I mean, for example, every January, the last 2 years, we've gone to Chat's studio for a week, and just because it's a cool vibe and we like to write. This January, just because our bass player's got some conflicts, we have to stay a little closer. So we're I found a place on Lake Houston or something. But ideally, I would have a house out there or an event space with a stage and a drum kit and the whole thing, and we would just go out there for a week, right? It's away, and just sit out there and write. Because for me, and I've done this for the last, I don't know, 10 years, but when I write, I have to go away. Like, because I got to get away, I got in a different mindset, turn off everything else, and go. just get away and get into my head, right? And I like to do that in the desert or in the woods or on the beach, whatever. Just not, I can't do it in my living room. You know,
Right.
I got too many kids and too many phones and whatever that, are pulling on me. So I love to just go get away. And so we're doing that, I think, like third week of January. We'll go back out there and just build a fire and
Nice, nice.
get away.
Yes. My grandpa always called it God's country.
That's right.
Yes, he
That's right.
always when we crossed the railroad tracks San Felipe was right across. We would cross the railroad
Yep.
tracks going into San Felipe, which was where our home was, and he would
Yeah.
say, "No, we're now entering God's country." So
We're
free to
entering
say, yeah,
God's.
all God's country. And then you've also just dropped "Holding On." Nice one. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, was very excited about that one. That one we co-wrote that one with Trent Willman, and then we had him come down to Houston, and we met up at Wire Road Studios. And working with Trent was fantastic. I mean, he's got his own style of producing and kind of guiding the process, and he's very good at what he does. And we're doing these Blue Room session videos, so that's our rehearsal space. It's a friend of mine that has that space. He lets us use it, and that's where for the last 3 years we've set up and choreographed our shows and worked on our set list, and we'll video them because we have a light show that's synced with our show now, so we use that space for that. In fact, this Friday we're going there to do like a podcast idea, kind of like this, talk about the album, talk about each song, like what the inspiration was and whatever, and probably just make fun of each other and crack jokes is what it'll end up being. But anyways, so we picked 5 songs from the album and did a video of just kind of like a behind the scenes sort of rehearsal slash performance type kind of thing that I'm hoping Awesome figures out a plan to release those with the singles each month, but that's his world. And then we did a full blown music video to Holding On because to me, I was waiting for that song. We're very excited about it. It's a great song. And we had gone and recorded it, but I hadn't gotten anything back to listen to yet. And my baby girl, Grace, she was born in May, and she was maybe a month old, something like that, maybe 4 to 6 weeks old. And so she woke up in the middle of the night, right? It's, 4 in the morning or whatever. And I go in to pick her up and change her and feed her and all that. And I noticed I'm checking my phone and I get an email. I had an email that came in around midnight or 1 from Trent. And so and it was, like the first cut of the song, first draft or whatever. And so I played it and I remember like, the lights were dim in the room, right? Because try to keep it chill so she could go back to sleep. And lights are dim and I'm holding the baby and listening to the song. It's kind of like holding her and dancing with her. And I was like, man, that's what I want the music video to reflect. And then my daughter, Kylie, is 20, she just turned 21. She got married last month. And so I asked her if, to kind of explain my idea to her. I was like, I want the video to capture like the baby. And then she's a toddler, like you're talking about your daughter. And then she's grown up and now she's leaving you, right? Like now she's getting married. And so I asked her if I could bring the team to her wedding. So she of course agreed. And then we had the team video that day and made a little like wedding day video for her and then use some of that footage for the music video. So we just got what I don't know, I have a couple more tweaks, but I think we're about done with that. That'll come out in January. It's super cool. We used my sister Pam's she's got my 4-year-old niece as like the toddler version, if you will. And then we've got shots of my baby in there for the newborn version. And then of course my daughter's wedding just kind of show the progression of having a little girl and holding the baby, and then they get older and you go play, and then they get even older and they leave you.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's just the first two that are dropping off of this album that's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm very excited about it as well. We're very proud of it. Again, it's nothing better than having something that's that personal, and then we all like it's something we created. It's not it's us that wrote it, it's us that recorded it, and so it's extra special for us. Obviously, that's why we decided to make it a self-titled album because this is not only that sound that is us, but it's also the lyrics, the stories, all of that. There are songs. So.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And at least when we've got kind of a intro to it. So when the album comes out after hearing this interview, we'll kind of have some insight. So good luck on it. I know it's going to be great. It's going to probably be like one of the best albums that comes out next year. It's looking forward to that. And hope you and your family have a great and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I know you're counting down to March, though.
Well, I'm also counting down to Christmas because I've got a 2-year-old and he is pretty excited.
That's exciting. That's very exciting. Okay, well, I'm going to let you go. And thanks again for coming back on the podcast. And we'll be in touch. And Will, as always, it's great talking to you. And thanks again.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Texas Toast Podcast. And now, big news. If you're a lover of Texas country red dirt music, you can now go listen to our station, Texas Toast Radio. Log on to TexasToastRadio.com to hear a mix of all your Texas country favorites.